This is asbestos, a natural mineral product that's resistant to heat and corrosion. It was a widely used building material and corresponds to a variety of mineral fibers found in rock and dates back to Canada's first asbestos mine in Quebec in 1874. At the time, asbestos was seen as evolutionary because of its overall convenience with its versatile fibers. It is heat resistant, electrically conductive, thus it was used radically for insulating materials such as steel beams in multi-story buildings, further proving its fireproof properties in the long run. The strength of the fibers also made it a miracle to use for sidings, ceilings, floor tiles, and concrete. However, as time went on, discoveries were made to show that asbestos was too good to be true.
Asbestos may be present in one's workplace, community, or home. When a product containing asbestos is disturbed, tiny asbestos fibers are released into the air. When inhaled or swallowed, these fibers are carried into the lower regions of the lung where they get trapped and are unable to be expelled from the body. As these fibers accumulate over time, they can lead to scarring and inflammation, affecting breathing and causing serious health problems. Asbestos is classified as a known human carcinogen, and exposure is confirmed to cause cancers of the lung, larynx, and ovary, as well as mesothelioma, a cancer that occurs in the thin membranes that cover the majority of our internal organs. Asbestos exposure can also lead to non-cancer diseases, such as asbestosis, a long-term inflammatory condition affecting the lungs which can cause coughing, shortness of breath, and permanent lung damage, as well as pleural disease, a lung condition that causes changes in the pleura, the tiny membrane surrounding the lungs and chest cavity.
Everyone has some level of asbestos exposure. There are low levels of asbestos in the air, water, and soil. However, these levels are low enough that they do not make people ill. People who have worked directly with asbestos have the highest risk of developing asbestos-related diseases. Occupations that have a high risk of asbestos exposure including shipbuilding and naval service, railway construction, asbestos mining and milling, fabric milling, and building demolishing. There is some evidence that family members of workers heavily exposed to asbestos face an increased risk of developing mesothelioma. This risk is thought to result from exposure to asbestos fibers brought into the home on the shoes, clothing, skin, and hair of the workers. Not everyone exposed to asbestos develops an illness. In general, the longer exposure, the higher the risk. Factors that affect the risk of developing asbestos-related disease are duration, intensity, source of exposure, type of industry you're working in, personal risk factor, smoking, pre-existing lung disease, and genetic mutations, genes that make it more likely to develop a disease.
In 1982, a female subject moved into her apartment with asbestos-containing ceilings. Approximately 10 years later, she began to notice water intrusion, leaving behind areas of crumbled ceiling throughout her apartment. Her landlord would repeatedly schedule repairs requiring sanding of her ceiling. By 2010, she developed a severe cough, fever, chills, wheezing, and tightness in the chest, and was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer. The subject was never a smoker, maintained good health and physical activity. Her doctors removed lung nodules from her chest with asbestos compatibility in the histology. Consulting companies who tested the ceiling material in her apartment found that it contained around 5% asbestos, well above the 0.1% recommended by the Occupational Health and Safety Administration. The subject is now unemployed, fatigued, and battling cancer after having consumed an approximate 153 fiber years over an 18-year period. Canada's asbestos ban went into effect on December 30th, 2018. It contained exemptions that still allow its use in the chloroalkali industry, the military, nuclear facilities, and for magnesium extraction from asbestos mining residue. The Canadian Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna, still believes the ban is not strong enough as it contains too many loopholes. Canada joins 62 other countries from around the world that have banned asbestos, according to the International Ban Asbestos Secretariat, leaving more than 100 others that continue to use it.
Asbestos has a variety of useful applications that span from insulating purposes to brake lining and clutch parts in automobiles, thanks to its thermal properties. Because of the multi-purpose applications of this material, there isn't a single substitute for asbestos. Cellulose fiber is one of the most used alternatives to asbestos for insulation in houses and buildings. Cellulose insulation is made from finely shredded newsprint, recycled newspaper, cardboard, hemp, straw, and many other materials. It is chemically treated to reduce moist and increase its resistance to fire. Another alternative to asbestos is polyurethane foam, which is also used for insulation in houses. Unlike cellulose fiber, polyurethane foam is a spray product that, thanks to air bubble captured in material, offers a great thermal resistance. Other alternatives to asbestos include amorphous silica fabrics, flour fillers, thermoset plastic flour, and are used for different applications. Asbestos has been widely used in the past thanks to a variety of its useful applications, but over the years the risk associated with the use of such material came afloat. After years of legal battles, most developed countries have banned the use, mining, and production of such material. Many alternatives were developed that progressively replaced asbestos in many applications, reducing deaths and injuries related to its fibers and inhalations.